All right, we are live. It is 11:26, almost 11:30. Uh, Today's the 21st, vastly approaching the 22nd, 2003. Here's my disclaimer, and I'll play my intro, and we'll go over true crime news for the week and take a look at the tropics. I'll be right back. All right, so here we go. It's been a really, for me, bizarre week. Fights with tires and cars and flats. And the thing is I just bought, uh, I go through tires pretty regularly because of what I do for a job. So I just bought, I don't know, another set of tires, four tires, about $800. Just put them on the car 2 weeks ago, I think. I think it was 2 weeks ago today, actually. Uh, and then when was it? It was, what's the night? Friday night? Yeah, it was Wednesday night. I was going into work, and sure enough, I hit something in the middle of the road. And uh, I don't know, about 3 or 4 or 5 seconds after I hit it, I started to think, maybe that was something. And sure enough, here comes the light, flat tire light in the car. And I'm like, you got to be fucking kidding me. So, anyways, it's enough for me. So let's do this. I'm gonna go first to this. This is really sad freaking news here. Go to this here. This is coming out of the flooding that went on last week, I believe. We got it here too. This is out of Pennsylvania, but apparently they found, I think it's the 2-year-old. So let's check this out. This is just awfully sad.
Looked like officials there in Makefield Township, Pennsylvania, in Bucks County, are taking to the podium to update us on the body of a 2-year-old that was found. Let's listen.
But we have some new developments in reference to our efforts to bring Maddie and Conrad Shields home to their families. As you are aware, a body of a child was found this evening in the Delaware River in the city of Philadelphia. We would like to provide you with some of the timeline of the events as to which the body was discovered. At 5:04 p.m., Philadelphia police received a 911 call from an anonymous caller advising that they believed there was a body in the Delaware River. Apparently, that information from the caller was limited and unsure on the exact location. But at 5:06 p.m., Philadelphia police received a second 911 call from the subject who provided a physical description, which was that of a child, and the location as being near the Philadelphia wastewater disposal plant at the 3900 block of North Delaware Avenue. This location is south of the Delaware of the Betsy Ross Bridge. District officers, along with the Philadelphia Marine Unit, was immediately dispatched to the area. The child was located in the debris against the pier at the area of the waste management plant. The Philadelphia Marine Unit arrived at 5:29, where they were able to remove the child from the water, transport it to the Philadelphia Fire Department, who were waiting on shore. At 5:30, the child was pronounced dead. and transported to the Philadelphia Medical Examiner's office. And based on the physical description of the child and the clothing found attached to the area, the child is located in debris against the pier at the area of the waste management plant.
Okay, let's. Oops. I think that's it. No. I don't know where I am. Okay. Let's. I'm really bad at the maps. Okay, let's go back
Philadelphia
to this.
Marine
I'll try
Unit
to find it.
arrived at 5:29, where they were able to remove the child from the water, transport it to the Philadelphia Fire Department, who were waiting on shore. At 5:30, the child was pronounced dead and transported to the Philadelphia Medical Examiner's office. And based on the physical description of the child and the clothing found on the child, we strongly believe that 2-year-old Maddie Shields has been found, pending further identification process. We also are appreciative of 911 callers who spotted Maddie, and that the Philadelphia Police and Fire Departments who all helped us throughout this tragic event. This has been an extremely intense and emotional time for the family and for our first responders, and for the community, and all our hearts are broken this evening. Although Maddie was found 32 miles away from where she was lost, she has never been closer to all of our hearts as she is now. We ask that you please respect the privacy of the Shields family and the Seeley families as they process all of what has happened over the past 7 tumultuous days. We cannot begin to fathom the pain they're experiencing, but we will never leave their sides as they deal with this tragedy.
All right, so found it. Stop screen. So just to give you some bearing here. So this is it here. Delaware River. I can probably go in, but I mean, that's, you get it. So there's some flooding last week and took the lives of, I think, 3 people, and one of the missing people was a 2-year-old. I remember them saying that. We got some pretty intense storms. I forget actually what day it was. I know I did an update on the storms that were pulling through, but unfortunately today they found the body, and that just sucks. Yeah, let's go back here. So that's where it is anyways. That's the location.
The Philadelphia Coroner's Office will be conducting the autopsies tomorrow morning. Currently, Philadelphia Aviation Unit and
I mean, look at this guy. He just looks down in the dumps. It's sad. It sucks.
Marine units are searching the Delaware River within their jurisdictions for Conrad. During our operations, the Delaware River was monitored, and agencies south of us were aware. Tomorrow, we will continue the planned effort to search for 9-year-old Conrad as we will reunite him with his family and sister. We will deploy Marine assets up and down the Delaware River as planned, and we will continue to search the operations with canine teams and divers as the river conditions permit. We will be in the water tomorrow, as planned. We will work tirelessly to ensure that Conrad is found, and we cannot thank the public enough for the outpouring of support, love, and concern they have shown the families and for all of us during this tragic event. Your words of encouragement, your efforts to help all that have been expressed and has never gone unheard and has touched us all. We will not be taking any questions as we need time to get ready for tomorrow's search operations for Conrad. Updates will continue via social media, And we will request a press conference should we have any significant developments. We want to thank everybody for coming tonight. Thank you.
Breaking news of this massive fire. You can see it here outside of Phoenix, Arizona. These flames are just massive, and the smoke that you see here just continues to get bigger and bigger, and really continues to get very high as well. You can see also from this wide out shot that we have, zoomed out shot that we have here too, just how heavy this smoke is. But we do want to stay in the meantime on this closer up look here. Now, what we know right now is that this was a fire.
So I have an issue with this whole thing because I keep forgetting to put my mic on. So anyways, this happened yesterday. This is Phoenix, Arizona. And I was just saying that I've been following these cases and bizarre events that happen. Phoenix, Arizona is always a hotbed of news.
That was accompanied by explosions. The incident happening, if you're in the Phoenix area, our studio is in Phoenix. This is taking place in the area of 40th Street and Washington. This is near the Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport, but officials are saying their operations are not being affected by the fire. What we want to do right now, though, is take you out to this live coverage from our team at Fox 10.
We haven't seen this kind of fire as far as this amount of gas, whatever type of gas it may be, either natural, propane, both, perhaps, something like this in quite a long time. I mean, and that's perhaps why it's such a challenge for the fire crews. I know they train so well, but something like this, they know what they're doing, but with this amount of flame and smoke coming out of it, it is a challenge.
Yeah, and fuel to feed it. I mean, look at that plume coming up. That just speaks that they've got a main line there. And this still going.
This is that image now. What we were just seeing was right when it started. So you can see it has, I mean, really died down, but still a lot of flame and
we want to check back in with Ellen McNamara. Again, she's on the ground just a couple blocks from where this is happening, or she was. Ellen, are you still in the same spot? Tell us what you know.
Yeah, we're just in the same spot, guys. We're just east of where this fire is at Bill's Propane Service. We're at 41st and Van Buren, and the smoke is just coming on us right now. We're kind of breathing it in. That's okay, though. So what we have seen is we have police behind. Everyone's being rerouted off of Van Buren. We have some looky-loos in the area to be expected, but some people are trying to
I mean, this is 52 minutes long. I'm not going to watch the 52 minutes, but
get through on Van Buren, and they're just not allowed at this point. We just saw another ladder truck from Tempe Fire, so they're bringing in more help to fight these flames. When you guys talked about how the flames seem to have gone down a little bit, what we have witnessed is that they are going down a little bit, but then we'll hear an explosion and then more smoke starts to rise once again. So that's really kind of the battle that the fire crews are facing.
I'm not even going to do a map
some
for
more
this.
there, some more.
I'm not even going to do a map for this. This is 40th Street in Washington. This was yesterday, I think.
Explosions going off. It's a fascinating scene, though, from where I'm at, because we just can see a plane taking off in the distance. We can see the control tower as well off in the distance, and then all this smoke here from this fire. The good news again is that we are hearing that the Arizona Animal Welfare League at this point is okay. Brian Kay and I, so Brian's a photographer who's showing you what we are seeing from our point. We're going to be heading to the media staging area. That's going to be over at 40th Street. So we're heading there to get more information from the public information officer with Phoenix Fire, and they're going to kind of fill us in on what's going on, who's impacted, how all those animals are doing. A lot of viewers concerned. I've been talking to some folks in this area who know that area very well. They go to Speedy's restaurant. They know the animals. They also know the business. They said this business has been here for about 40 years, Bill's Propane Service. So it's really well known in this community. A lot of concern, of course.
That news lady just got beeped at.
For the owner and everyone who's impacted. But right now, they just got to get this thing under control, and it's about 118 degrees outside, which is not helping any. So, guys, we're going to go to the media staging area right now. We'll break down, and we'll bring you some more information when we get there.
Okay. I'm trying to figure out if that structure, thank you, Ellen. I'm trying to figure out if the structure that we see on fire is that Sundance Airport parking structure. Is that where people, or is it something else?
The sign says something about the shuttle service, so.
I think that is because it's to the left of where
This looks like a cell tower right here.
the main fire is. And in the video that the viewer took from the
Phoenix, Arizona has some of the best car chases ever. And we may watch a couple of those tonight too. Also, what do they call it? Like a update on what I'm going to be doing tonight. I'll probably do a live now, and then later tonight I'm going to do early in the morning. I might try to do Evansdale too. So programming alert, I guess they call it.
the higher angle. She was mentioning the cars that may be parked there for.
Are there cars on fire also?
I couldn't see it from her video, just too many flames, but she was specifically mentioning cars, which may be to the left. I'm not sure. This is not far. Well, there's a couple cars there. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I know this is technically not true crime, but it's news.
And this is not far from the 40th Street drop-off for the airport.
Right.
For the
You've
sky,
got more on that.
SkyTrain.
Well, the light rail is being affected by this as well because there's a station right there. So it's suspended. Service is suspended at the 44th Street Washington station. That's right in this area. So obviously that is suspended at this time. They say eastbound trains can only travel to 38th Street Washington station.
Look at this.
That building's a loss. Look at the flames coming right through the front door.
Why do you think they opened that door there? Maybe to vent it? Or
I don't know.
I think to vent it, yeah. And we could see some cars in that parking lot. And so if these cars start catching on fire, this is going to get even worse.
Look at the plane landing. They're rolling it in at Sky Harbor.
And of course, I took the tire immediately the next day to see if they could plug it or whatever. And my luck, that's never going to happen. Like, the guy looked at me, I looked at him, my mechanic, and he said, nah, it's not going to be fixed. And I'm like, great.
Harbor, no effect to the airport.
And
operation.
we're going to be seeing some pictures on social media from planes coming in, from passengers. You can see this for miles around, and this is your welcome to Phoenix.
Wow, welcome to Phoenix. It's 119 plus. We got a huge fire burning near the airport. Just so that you get your vantage point, obviously South Mountain, you see
119 degrees. No thanks.
The towers there.
I mean, I like heat, but that's a little extreme. Plus, I like humidity more than the heat itself.
So the smoke is blowing northeast, still continues to blow in from the winds blowing from the southwest. The smoke is blowing northeast. That's kind of a typical pattern. And, so we can check in with Corey. I think Corey's in the weather center.
I think he's putting a mic on.
With more on the winds.
Yeah, this is not good. You got 20 mile an hour gust, 24, 22, 25. So pretty sure that's not helping.
Corey?
Yeah, and boy, they're pretty strong at the moment. You know, usually by the time the sun sets, they'll start to diminish. But yeah, if you're anywhere in the East Valley, if you're in Mesa or Tempe or
This has been a really wacky year in the continental United States, anyways, weather-wise. I mean, it's been basically a soak event here in New England. It's just now starting to lift a little bit, where we got a few days this week coming up that are supposed to be nice, but I mean, I haven't seen rain like this ever here in the summer. We only get 2 months up here, so it's not like we have a lot of time. And if you get, July and June, which is mostly rain, there goes the fucking summer. It's just horrible.
south parts of Scottsdale, you're smelling this for sure. And although it's not like a house fire that is sending up such enormous clouds of smoke at the moment,
No, it's just noxious gas fumes. That's all.
we were at my live shot earlier. We were right around Central and Encanto, and watching that smoke. It seemed to be.
If you sense a little bit of sarcasm in my voice tonight,
Diminishing a bit. Well, you guys would know more than I about that. But anyway, it looks like this pattern that you're seeing now, a pretty strong west to easterly flow, is going to continue for at least another 2 hours. So keep that in mind if you're if you're anywhere in the path of that smoke, you may not be seeing much.
all right. So that's that. That happened yesterday. I'm pretty sure they probably got it out by now. So that's that. All right. So what I want to do now, what am I doing now? Okay, so I can get rid of that. And we are going to go to this crazy lady here. So this case is probably going to be starting soon. This is, I'll read it to you first. But this person here is a little nuts. So this lady here, probably butcher her name, Taylor Shabusiness, 25. She attacked her attorney Tuesday during a court hearing, moments after a judge agreed to delay her trial. So, and we'll watch this, and then I'll pull up the other one. But this woman here, yeah. Let me start this again. It's only 51 seconds long. I mean, she just freaking attacks a defense attorney. Her own attorney is attacking her. And look at how big this guy is. Right? This is a big guy, right? And he's going to use all of his girth just to subdue this chick.
Rachel, call. Is they bringing stuff in? Yeah, let's just go to second. Billy, can you walk?
Watch breaking news on YouTube. Subscribe to ABC7 Chicago Eyewitness News.
So, yeah. So that's that. I have no idea what I'm doing here. All right. I'm going to go to my Okay, so we'll watch this in reference to what we just saw. And then I'll read what she's accused of doing here. This should be starting up. I'm not sure. This trial here should be getting going soon. So, all right. So I'll start it from the beginning. So this is the competency hearing. The judge ultimately found Taylor Chavisness competent to stand trial and said they will proceed with jury selection. So that's going to happen soon. She's charged with first-degree intentional homicide, mutilating a corpse, and third-degree sexual assault for allegedly attacking Shad Tyrion last year. So, don't know much about this case, but anytime you mutilate a corpse, a body, it's not good.
Mr. Lizette.
Thank you, Your Honor. As the court is aware, it is the state's burden at this juncture to demonstrate by the greater weight of credible evidence. So it is a relatively low burden, but it is the state's burden to demonstrate that Ms. Chavisness is competent to proceed in this matter. I think when the court considers the totality of all the information before it, that it's quite clear that Ms. Chavisness is in fact competent to proceed in this case. And this is a judicial decision. It's not a medical decision. It's a decision that the court can make based on a variety of different factors. We've now had 5 different competency evaluations in this case. Dr. Litton's evaluation is frankly the only evaluation that suggests that she's not competent. I think there are a number of flaws with Dr. Litton's evaluation, and I think that Dr. Seipel's report and his testimony here today call into question a number of her findings and certainly the methodology that was used today. And I do just want to take a moment that when I asked the question about Mr. Freilich being present, I certainly was not attending to.
Okay, so let's stop that there and get to. My computer just froze. Isn't that great? Reading this article here. Who was Shad Tyrion? In a grisly tale of meth-fueled killing, a woman stands accused of strangling Tyrion to death, butchering his remains, and leaving his severed head in a bucket. A married 25-year-old woman is charged with the brutal homicide, mutilation, and sexual assault of her lover, Shad Tyrion, 25. Kind and compassionate person, a talented artist, he also enjoyed wood carving. At around 3 a.m. on February 23, 2022, Tara Pakanich made a horrific discovery of her son's severed head in a bucket in her basement. The authorities quickly arrived at the home on the west side of Green Bay, so this is in Wisconsin. And we're told by the victim's mother that Chavisness was the last person to see him alive. So authorities quickly caught up with the accused, who was reportedly found in her home with dried blood on her clothing and hands. So she's, police found a crock pot box with additional human body parts, including legs. Wow. Okay. So that's a little bit of the backstory. Hey, there's some tires right there. All right. So we'll go back to this. So what am I doing? Here. I should have my music going, but I've noticed that when I get the music going, it kind of breaks into the feed. So
suggest that Mr. Freilich did anything inappropriate at all. That was not the purpose of my question. I think to the extent that Dr. Litton had someone else in the room, that's a decision she made that may not be consistent with best practice, but I don't want to suggest that Mr. Freilich made any attempt to try to influence competency. I do think that what clearly makes the most sense is Dr. Seipel's ultimate conclusion in this case, which is that to the extent that there are any potential symptoms of psychosis in this case, that those symptoms had generally been driven by two things: intentional use of illicit substances, particularly methamphetamine, and then volitional conduct, frankly, on the part of Ms. Shabiznis. And of course, as the court is to consider, it isn't just.
So it's shit business. Wonder what nationality that is.
Does she have a mental illness? Does she potentially have some sort of symptoms that may in some way make it more difficult or more challenging for her to participate? The issue is, do those symptoms, if they exist, do they substantially impact her ability to understand what's going on and to assist in her defense? And I think quite clearly neither of those things are present. Frankly, I'm not sure that even the motion from counsel suggests that there's been a significant impact in his ability to work with Ms. Shabiznis on this case as a result of any of those perceived symptoms. I
mean, what do you do if you're a defense attorney and your client is attacking you in the middle of a courtroom? That's got to be difficult.
The interviews that she's had with all of the clinicians, she appears to generally understand the concepts, the legal concepts. She knows who her attorneys are, what the role is. She knows what the state's role is. She knows what the court's role is. She understands what she's facing, why she's here. And she is able to pretty substantially describe the facts that put her in this position. And the court is able to consider all of the facts and circumstances that are available and its own observations of the defendant at counsel table, of her ability to sit.
I mean, I usually take the side of the woman in things like this, but everybody's crazy. I mean, it doesn't matter what gender you are, but I just don't have any respect for anybody that mistreats women at all, period. So I was going to do that tonight too, kind of get on a soapbox, but anybody that abuses a woman or sexually, mentally, physically, is just a royal piece of shit, in my opinion, period. So there's that.
Through lengthy, complex motion hearings without.
I'm not saying that's what happened here. I'm just saying in general.
Disruption, and apparently to assist her attorney throughout that process, and Mr. Freilich's ability to communicate with her quite well. It does appear that she and Mr. Freilich have developed a quality working relationship and that she's able to assist him in this process. I think when the court evaluates it has met the weight of credible evidence that Ms. Shabiznis is competent to proceed in this action.
Okay.
I don't know if that's me breaking up like that, but could be the feed. So if it keeps doing that, we'll go to something else.
Thank you, Mr. Freilich.
Thank you, Your Honor. The law, Wisconsin law 971.14 subsection 3 of the Wisconsin statutes indicates that no person who lacks substantial mental capacity or understanding of the procedures to assist in her own defense may be tried, convicted, or sentenced for the commission of an offense so long as the incapacity endures. We have a young lady here, Taylor Denise Shabiznis, who does have mental health problems. She's been at Bellin Psychiatric Center for mental health treatment. They said that she had bipolar disorder with psychotic features.
You think? I mean, I think it's pretty self-evident.
She's been to the Nicolay Psychiatric Center for a commitment, 6-month commitment order. She was there for about a month, but she was under a court order for commitment that was filed April 1st of 2021, and that she was deemed to be mentally ill. She was deemed by the court to be adjudicated as a mental defective or committed to a mental institution. She was at the mental health institution, and that she was under a court order to take psychotropic medications. So she has a history here of lots of problems. The Brown County jail records bore out that she's had problems with following directions, standing for head count, drawing on the walls, doing all kinds of bizarre and odd behaviors. And what we have here are two diabolically opposed conclusions or opinions from the psychologist here. Dr. Seipel feels that Taylor Schabusiness is competent, and our doctor, Dr. Lighton, who has a lot of experience, she opines or concludes that she's not competent. So we have a problem here. We have we're at a crossroads. We've got some issues that have to be sorted out. I beg to differ with Dr. Seipel. I mean, he testified that this is not a complex case. It sure is a complex case. There's lots of records. There's lots of history here of mental health problems, drug addiction issues, all different kinds of problems. I think that both of the doctors have a lot of information, have a lot of training. They've looked at all these reports that have been submitted to the court. But
so, I mean, some people are just really good actors too. There's that. Some people aren't.
Dr. Tracy Lucetta, who's also a PhD, she sent in a report that was filed on May 6th of 2022 when my predecessor, Attorney Jolly, was on the case. And she indicated that she recommended that my client be transferred to one of the state's psychiatric facilities like the Mendota Mental Health Institute or Winnebago Mental Health Institute for further evaluation under close and extended observation by qualified professionals.
I just watched a very similar kind of case to this on Cold Case Files. I didn't watch it. I listened to it. Where this suspect chopped up her boyfriend and was going to feed the parts to his children, their children. Forget the case. Forget the name of the case. But yeah, people are a little bit weird.
If she was sent to a state facility like that for a week or a month or whatever time is needed, a whole team of professionals could assess, fully assess my client's competency to proceed in this case. There are all kinds of issues here that have to be sorted out. It's not a clear-cut case, in our opinion. And I would argue that, a 90-minute interview by Dr. Seipel with Ms. Schabusiness, I don't think that is going to be able to be enough time to really fully understand and address the issues in this particular case. Dr. Seipel didn't do the MMPI or the MCMI. Dr. Lighton did not. Dr. Engine apparently did. I also want to comment on the issue with Dr. Lighton. She asked me to sit in, and I know that there were concerns because the chair was thrown at her, and she's an older lady, and so I sat in, and that's what happened there. I didn't get involved. I stayed out of it, but I was just there I think my client felt more comfortable with that. So I just want to comment on that. But I believe that my client is not a very
Dude, I think she just tried to beat the shit out of you too. Is that the same lawyer? I'm not sure. But yeah.
Historian. I think she's got memory deficits. We've got all these records that I've poured over and looked at, sent to the court. I think that my client has had or does suffer from bipolar 1 disorder based on my review of the records. And, based on her conduct with regards to throwing a chair at the professional that's trying to evaluate her, attacking her, Mr. Jolly, allegedly previously in court, engaging in other courtroom.
Okay, so that wasn't him. It was another defense attorney, I think.
Antics. the staple going into her arm, not taking medications. You know, who knows? Who knows if the drugs, the methamphetamine, the marijuana, the cocaine, all these other drugs, did they cause brain damage? Did they cause a mental defect? That's all for the court to decide, but I submit that it likely did. And it's caused a lot of different problems for Ms. Shabusiness with being able to really participate, understand what's going on, assist in her own defense. The fact that she apparently did have some hallucinations in the past, I think all that leads to the conclusion and my argument that my client should be deemed not competent at this time, or if the court doesn't feel it can even make a decision on that, send her over to Mendota or Winnebago for further evaluation. Then we'll know. Then we'll know for sure if she's ready to participate in a trial and assist with defense counsel and be able to understand what's going on. I have some serious.
Watch this. Watch her head movements here.
Decision on that. Send her over to Mendota or Winnebago for further evaluation. Then we'll know. Then we'll know for sure if she's ready to participate in a trial and assist with defense counsel and be able to understand.
See how she kind of nods her head like that? She knows what's going on.
And what's going on. I have some serious reservations on her mental status, especially in light of the civil commitment, especially in light of the order to take medications. She has been deemed mentally ill by a court of law. So nobody can dispute that. I would submit that that's likely continuing, but there's all kinds of different opinions here. So I'd ask that the court go along with my arguments that she be transferred to one of the state's facilities for further and extended observation. Thank you.
Mr. Freilich. Well, I've had an opportunity now to listen to the testimony of both of the evaluators. I've also had an opportunity to review both of their reports. I've had an opportunity to observe and weigh their and on several occasions in the past when we've addressed this issue, I've had I've reviewed the history, and I'm not going to review the history of the competency process that's gone through here in this case again, because I've done it several times. But I want to highlight a few things, and that is that on 3 separate occasions, this court has ordered, has tasked the Wisconsin Forensic Unit with assessing Ms. Shabusiness' competency. And I know there's been other evaluations that have been conducted as well. But in the first one, Dr. Collins really cautioned the court to maintain vigilance on this issue throughout the case. And I have done that. I have done that. And I've listened to the requests for on various occasions to have more competency evaluations conducted. On a few of those occasions, I've denied that request. And then this time I granted it because Dr. Lighton came forward. Really each of these evaluators has a different opinion. Dr. Lighton's opinion on page 2 of her report is, quote, "My opinion also is that to a reasonable degree of psychological certainty, Ms. Shabusiness is not competent to proceed to trial," close quote. Dr. Seipel, as he testified here today, has an opinion directly to the contrary. His report indicates, quote, "The weight of the credible information again points to the conclusion that Ms. Shabusiness is competent to proceed, and I offer that opinion to a reasonable degree of professional certainty to the courts for the court's adjudication," close quote. In analyzing not only their testimony but the reports, I parsed through the reports, and frankly, it's actually difficult to parse out and unwrap Dr. Lighton's report regarding which piece relates to the NGI and which piece relates to the competency. Some things I want to just address regarding Dr. Seipel's report that I find meaningful, that I find insightful to me. I'm going to read a couple of those things. On page 14 of a report, he addresses his interaction with Ms. Shabusiness, and I think it's very relevant. He says, quote, "Her commentary occasionally waxed somewhat provocative, for example, sexual or otherwise graphic. However, such comments were not directed at me in any form of threatening or solicitous manner. Rather, she simply seemed to be fishing for a reaction. Thus, I either ignored such comments or matter-of-factly acknowledged them before continuing with my line of questioning. Through such an approach, I was easily able to sustain Ms. Shabusiness in rational, reciprocal, forward-moving discussion. Her replies were almost always relevant, albeit not always forthright, and she was easily redirected and responsive to prompting when needed. Moreover, in the few moments where she was evidently confused by questions, she easily benefited from simple accommodations such as repetition and rephrasing. Her expressed thoughts were consistently organized. I detected no credible delusional beliefs, finding claims such as that she believed Dr. Lighton to have stuck her tongue out had her to be entirely lacking in credence." I found that relevant. It was a direct reflection of what the doctor experienced when he was interacting with Ms. Shabusiness. In another portion of his report, he notes, in any event, there was no evidence whatsoever of Ms. Shabusiness being distracted by any form of hallucinatory phenomenon. That's on page 15 of his report. Just summing some of the highlights that were also gleaned during the testimony. Page 16 of his report, he notes that Ms. Shabusiness indicated that she can assist her attorney in her defense by giving him all the information possible. Thus, she offered that it is important to be forthcoming with defense counsel. So she's able to help me. So he's able to help me. He can't if I don't be honest. Indeed, she stated that she has been honest with Attorney Freilich about the circumstances of this case. The report goes on in another location to indicate, quote, "When considered in that light, there simply is no reasonable basis on which to conclude that Ms. Shabusiness lacks capacity to behave appropriately and communicate rationally, given that she has now twice clearly displayed such capacities." He goes on to indicate, quote, "She has no difficulty grasping the roles of relevant courtroom personnel in the adversarial nature of the criminal proceedings." Again, I found all of those to be very insightful and credible. They seemed very credible. I've weighed the credibility of each of the experts regarding this topic of competency, and I find those observations to be credible from Dr. Seipel. I've observed Ms. Shabusiness interacting with her attorney. Obviously, I can't hear what they're talking about, but as I sit up here, I can see everything that goes on in the courtroom. I can see them interacting, discussing. Ms. Shabusiness indicates she thinks she can work with him. She understands what the courtroom procedures and players are. There's been occasions of inappropriate behavior, which Dr. Seipel indicated on testimony here, that he was fundamentally unable to rule out that they are volitional in nature. Satisfied based upon all the evidence I've received that the greater weight of the credible evidence in this case, and my assessment of the credibility is included in that the greater weight of the credible evidence supports a finding that Ms. Shabusiness is competent to proceed to trial, and I'm going to make that finding now. So that's the decision of the court.
Okay, so that's the end of that. Obviously, the judge is not buying that at all. All right, so we're going to go. What I want to do before I start onto this is I'm going to I don't want that. So I'm going to go on to this here first before I get involved in the LISC guy. Um, early early on last fall, I started getting involved in. Let me actually fix this here. Nope, that's not it. This set of unalivings here, and I started off with Mindy West here, up here in the corner. I put that in here along with these other victims. Not saying that these two here are connected with these, but I started investigating this case here, Mindy West, because I actually knew her years and years ago. We went to the same school, lived on the same street, but she was found. She was found in the summer of 1998 down here on Hughes Road, strangled. She was a sex worker, heavily involved into the crack cocaine during the day. And then I ran into the Rosalie Miller case. She was found about a year before that. Same kind of MO, strangled, sex worker, heavily into drugs. And these two locations are very close to each other, within maybe 5 to 10 miles. In fact, all these roads kind of connect here. So, not saying these two are connected, not saying these two are connected to these, but I started looking into these cases here. Wendy Morello was found in York, Maine, but all of these victims, these 5 victims here, have a tie to what they call the Maine South region in Worcester, Massachusetts. So let me bring that up there. Do a map. Okay. So where am I? I'm right here. So let's get rid of this here. And I'll bring this up again. I mean, I have this all in my playlist. So if you want to go back and look at these cases, you can. So here's Worcester, Mass. We used to go to Worcester all the time, to the Civic Center here to watch concerts. Worcester's a great city, or it was a great city anyways. Great Civic Center back in the day. I think I saw Rush there. Rush and Rory Gallagher there. But there's an area of town here, Maine South, where a lot of center for sex workers to get picked up here. So let me get out of here and go back to this here. So all of these victims were associated with that Maine South area. And so they dubbed these the Maine South Woodsman murders, and they all felt like this was all connected. These were all connected to this unaliver. And I should have my music on, but I don't. So this guy here, is Alex F. Skesny, and he is incarcerated right now because he is. They found him guilty of one of the unalivings, to separate from these other 5, to being involved. I think her name was Teresa Stone. So they found him guilty of that. So he's serving a life sentence, but they tried pinning all of these on him. So, with that said, this guy here, let's play this here. And we'll go to this guy here. So when this case came out last week, I wasn't going to cover it, but I recently
suspected
found out that this guy here might have had a place in North Reading, Massachusetts. So I'm still working on that. But if he did, then I mean, it's a long shot, but you know, you never know. So I contacted Worcester PD last week, and this guy will be in the data bank anyways, his DNA. So if he's involved in any of these things, hopefully they're investigating that. But it is slightly possible.
Long Island serial killer going through right now? What is this whole experience going to be?
And I pulled this one up because I was watching a stream today. I'm not going to mention the name, but just horrible take on the BTK daughter. And I just have no respect for anybody. I don't care who it is who calls people out for sharing their opinion on certain things when it comes to stuff like this, because I don't blame the family of this guy for any of this stuff. I mean, they didn't ask for this shit. And anytime somebody starts to blame the family for this stuff, just has absolutely no respect for me whatsoever. I mean, they didn't, like I said, they didn't ask for this. Obviously they didn't know. And until there's evidence that they did know, so here we go.
To be like, and what we've heard from law enforcement, this is not about anything that they did. That's what we're hearing, at least. So how do you comprehend all of this, where your life has been turned upside down in a moment like that? And now the spotlight, to a certain extent, is on you as well, because you are the wife, you are the son.
I mean, I'm not an expert on any of this shit, but I've read enough stuff that these guys here, these unalivers, these serial killers, these people have two different personalities, two different ways to compartmentalize their actions. And unfortunately, these people don't have any remorse or they don't care about anybody else but themselves, period. And I've been involved in sales for years. And I know what it's like to go to work and be involved in sales when you're out in the general public. Like when I'm home, I act completely different than I do when I'm trying to sell something. Like when I sell something, I'm a completely different person than I would be if I wasn't at the job, because it means money. You got to sell shit. So I compare these guys to kind of like that mindset where they're a different person outside of their regular, normal, everyday lives. But this person here gives some really, really good insight on this stuff because she's been through it before.
Son, you are the daughter of someone who's...
I've never been through this before. Very few people have. So when you're getting insight from these people, it's probably a good idea to fucking listen.
Suspected of being a serial killer. Why don't you take a listen? This is Rodney Harrison, Suffolk County Police Commissioner, who gave us a slight indication about the reaction of the suspected serial killer's family when they found out.
When we initially informed them about their husband, their father, they were shocked. They were disgusted.
First of all, Rodney Harrison is a football player, was a football player for the New England Patriots. I don't know who this guy is.
They were embarrassed. So if you ask me, I don't believe that they knew about the.
All right, I have to close this out because my life sucks. My mouse sticks, so
coming in and seeing what information we could gather to see if the family might have known exactly what Mr. Harriman was up to.
And again, right now,
Ask me, I don't believe that they informed them about their
killer's family when they found out.
all right, I just rewinded that.
When we initially informed them about their husband, their father, they were shocked.
So this guy here is talking about the family, what they knew, and how they found out, and all of that stuff.
They were disgusted. They were embarrassed. So if you ask me, I don't believe that they knew about this double life that Mr. Harriman was living. But time will tell. And once again, there's still a lot more questioning that needs to be done to the family, to friends, taking a look at some of the calls that are coming in and seeing what information we could gather to see if the family might have known exactly what Mr. Harriman was up to.
And again, right now,
I mean, even if, okay, so let's just go down the road of even if, okay. Let's just say, for instance, they knew, one of the persons knew, especially the wife, that something was off, and you know, do you think she's actually going to say anything? I mean, her life could be in jeopardy at that moment too. So you always got to take that into consideration, I guess. But it's one of those things where you don't live in the house, you don't know. So why speculate that they had anything to do with this until you have proof beyond a reasonable doubt that they did? I just don't get it.
they have no information that, or no indication or evidence that they knew any of this was going on. As a matter of fact, they've sort of indicated that when the family was out of town and out of the area is when these murders may have occurred. So to understand this tonight, I want to bring in a very special guest joining us tonight from Orlando, Florida. She's the daughter of the infamous serial killer Dennis Rader.
I just think this person here is a very smart person. And I don't really care what anybody else thinks. So this is BTK's daughter, so Dennis Rader's daughter, and she's been through this before. So they're asking her, in her opinion, things related to what she went through and what maybe this family is going through, and she's giving an honest opinion. And people who attack her are just really horrible people, as far as I'm concerned.
Known as BTK. Kerry Rawson is been kind enough to join us tonight. Kerry, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on tonight.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
But she says some things here that are very interesting, in my opinion. And she's usually always on with the guy from the interview room, with probably one of the smartest people in the world, Dr. Ann Burgess, and some of the other people. And the insight that she brings to cases like this are invaluable, in my opinion, because this is the other side, right? We know that the victims' families are going through what they're going through, and that's horrible. But this is coming from the other side and the other angle. And these people are victims too, in my opinion.
Can we start here? Because Rodney Harrison there describing the.
I mean, nobody says, "Hey, I want to be born into a serial killer family." You know.
First time law enforcement revealed to the family what they suspected the father had done here, the husband had done here. That's a difficult moment from your own personal experience. What was going on in your family when the arrest was made and the announcement was made?
So my father, Dennis Rader, otherwise known as BTK, was arrested in February of 2005. The law enforcement had been looking for him for 31 years, and he had been dormant for almost a decade and a half. And then he came back and started communications and playing what he called cat and mouse games with law enforcement for almost a year. And so they narrowed him down through a massive investigation, multi-task forces, massive DNA swabbing. And we knew that they were looking for BTK. I was married. I was in my mid-20s living in Michigan. This was all happening back in Wichita, Kansas. And so, we knew they were looking for BTK, but it wasn't until there was a knock on my door by an FBI agent literally saying, I need to talk to you. And then he just dropped it and he said, your dad is BTK. And so for us, it was just a total, absolutely shock, completely floored. I went into medical shock. I was shaking for 5 days. It took 3 or 4 days to get me back home due to the media and everything going on. We basically just got me.
And I don't think she's trying to portray a sob story here. I don't think that's what she's trying to do. He asked her a question and she's trying to answer it the best she can with her own experience, because everybody's experience is probably going to be a little bit different. But that's, in my opinion, quite a shocker when somebody just all of a sudden comes to your door and tells you that the person that you've lived with your entire life is now the most notorious serial killer ever.
On a plane and got me home, and then we all just hunkered down and wrote it out.
Was it, and I can't imagine what you were going through, was it difficult did you believe it at first? Were you skeptical? How did you receive that information?
I was all of the emotions you might have when you're going through grief, right? So you go through anger, you go through bargaining, you go through denial, you're going through shock, and you're going through trauma. And so I literally became a trauma victim at that point of the notification, because I thought my mother had been killed by my dad. I thought my grandmother had been.
I'd love to interview a person who specializes in brain function and stuff like this, because you go through a lot of different types of things when tragedy does strike, and it always seems like the main part of your brain just takes over everything, and then everything gets put into different other parts of the brain until you can figure things out. So
been killed by BTK. I thought I had lost family members, and I have PTSD still 18 years later from that moment.
I mean, this guy right here is the piece of shit, right? This is the guy in here that is the problem, right? It's not anybody else. It's this guy here. What's in here? Not anybody else.
And so an FBI agent, he's trying to question me and get information. Well, 7 of the murders were before I was born. So I was asking about the other 3. I was asking about the other date because they had arrested him on 8. And they said, well, he's wanted for one from 1986. And I said, oh, well, my neighbor lady was murdered in 85. And as far as I know, it was unsolved. And then it was my guts ripped in two, and they said, well, BTK, I said BTK cuts phone lines, and I knew my neighbor's phone line had been cut. And I knew she had been missing. She had been taken from her house and found a few weeks later out in the woods. And she had been strangled. And as a 6-year-old, I knew that. So these things I knew in 85 now are coming back in 2005. And I'm sitting here alibying my father and defending him. And then all of a sudden I'm literally turning him in on a murder they hadn't arrested him on. And so like your whole world is imploding and you're sitting there starting to like in that first few hours, like realizing like the man you knew that raised you is not who you thought he was.
And that really leads to my next question about this dual life. Some people from the outside might say, well, no, there has to be clues, there have to be indications. But in your case, there weren't. I presume there weren't. How do you explain to someone what it's like?
This is the part that I found, to be pretty telling right here is you don't hear about this stuff in the media. You don't hear about this, what she's going to say here outside of the, the inner brass here. But, it's interesting.
Having lived with that person, known that person as dad, and now the world knows him as someone else.
It's not like you're going to walk up to your father and say, hey, Dad, are you a serial killer? Can you show me a sign that you're a serial killer, please? No, a 6-year-old's trying to live a 6-year-old life. Like,
We get asked that all the time. Like, how did you not know? Did you enable? Did you protect this person? I mean, I'm still being asked that today, and it's been a couple decades for me. And now I am trying to defend Rex's innocent family members. As far as we know, they're innocent. In the case of my family, what the public didn't know until I started speaking up 10 years later, we were silent for 10 years, and I'm still the only one from my family speaking up. The public did not know that we were abuse victims, emotional abuse, mental abuse, coercive control of our family. We were living with a psychopath, a narcissist. He's a sexual sadistic psychopath and a pathological liar. I'll tell you in one breath that I left my dad and we traveled and we camped and we fished. And in the next breath, I will tell you how abusive he could be. He physically abused my brother.
See, that's the stuff that you don't know. That's just those are the things that come out afterwards. These types of abuses need to be handled outside of all of this shit, because people are abused in their home and they think that's normal, until they've been into another life or another family. Some of these things may seem normal to them.
Decades-long abuse in my house. And so when you're talking about somebody that on the outside externally looks like this really great guy, Boy Scout leader, church leader, stand-up community man, no criminal record, just like Rex. And then you start digging and you find out, how bad they could be. And then you combine that with this knowledge of how they were controlling their family and all the stuff. There was a ton of stuff found in our house, like in Rex's house, like similar. My house inside was rather messy with closets, and there were just places you didn't go and you didn't question Dad's authority. The reality is you still don't even go from, say, abuse to assuming somebody is a murderer. You don't. I was raised into this family. I didn't know any difference.
That is so eye-opening, the way you describe that. And it's a perspective I
think people need to, especially people in the fields that study shit like this, they need to pay attention to a lot of this stuff because, you can learn a lot from a dummy, but you're going to learn a lot from somebody that's actually been through this shit too.
I had not even considered or thought before. So what message would you have for people now who are either in the lives of the family or are interacting, or even strangers who come across this family? What would you say to those people? How to speak with the accused serial killer's wife and children? What would make it better for them, easier for them? How should they be treated by society?
First off, just approach him like you were mentioning in your lead about victims and victims' rights. There's legal victims, and then there's like those like external victims, and we need to.
I mean, I want to go back to that for a second because.
First off, just approach him like you were mentioning in your lead about victims and victims' rights. There's legal victims, and then there's.
I mean, in this image here, this guy looks really happy. I mean, just look at him. He looks like. I mean, this is after the fact, and I don't like to say these things after the fact, but he just looks really, really amused. Period. He knows what he's done. You know, he knows, and he's pretty smug about it.
There's like those like external victims, and
I mean, he's technically innocent until proven guilty, but I can still have my opinion. I think this guy's guilty as shit. I mean, it's just, you know, now it's time to put all the pieces together. But if this guy isn't related to other crimes and other victims, I'll be shocked, literally. But maybe with new DNA advancements and forensics, maybe these guys, you know, stop after time because they don't feel like they're capable of covering up the crime enough. But I just don't think that these guys can just stop. I just don't.
We need to approach like a serial killer suspect family the same as we would a victim survivor family, and say on the other end where they've lost somebody. We deserve the same sort of rights as soon as our family is cleared or the family is cleared by law enforcement. Law enforcement quickly were protecting us and keeping us informed, helping us with court. Public defenders stepped in and helped my family. Prosecution was helping us. All of this stuff is going on in the background, and the public really isn't aware. And I asked a few years ago for victim services to deal with some issues with my father in prison, and people stepped right in. So I have really good working relationships with like the police right now. And
I'm also tired of people picking on sex workers too. I mean, I may do a whole live on that. I mean, yeah, it's probably not a job for everybody, but they have rights too, man.
Like, my advice is for anybody around this family, just embrace them and take care of them. They're going through this insane shock. They're in the public eye, and they're grieving. They're grieving the loss of their husband and their father, and in any way that they knew them. It's really like a death. Plus, you're international news, and you never asked for any of this. And it's not. It gets better in time. It's
holier than thou people. I mean, honestly, just shut the fuck up.
Settles down as the media cycles. But the reality is this is never going to be over for them. It's not ever over for me or my family. It's just our reality.
How about advice for those family members?
Oh, just hunker down, do what you need to do. I was so impressed with her filing for the divorce. I thought that was a huge just signal to Rex that she's just done, and to the community in general that, you know, like she's not him, and this is not her, and she's done. I would say just keep working with lawyers, take care of yourself, one thing at a time, one step at a time. Don't feel like you owe anybody anything. And if you do want to talk, then great. We're all ready to hear what you want to say, but don't feel like you owe anybody. Issue a statement legally. If you want to do that, that can help. And then just know that you're not alone, and everybody's behind you, and you're going to be okay.
Now, your perspective is obviously very unique, and you've alluded to a couple things, but I want to dive a little deeper. First, your thoughts about this alleged serial killer.
I didn't like this guy at first, but now it's grown on me, I guess. He asks really good questions, I think, sometimes.
From what you've learned, what you've seen, from your perspective, what are your thoughts?
Oh, man. Based on the charging bail papers, I'm sure we're looking at the correct suspect on the Giglo Beach 4. We're waiting on.
I mean, I read some of the stuff that this guy was Google searching, and I think it's a crime to be Google searching shit like this. I mean, who the fuck does that? Like, that's just ridiculous. I mean, I think that should be a felony right there, just looking at shit like that.
On Maureen, we're waiting on DNA on her. I've heard that we're just waiting on some facts to get sealed up there, but I'm definitely sure on the 4 for him. I would be shocked if it was not him based on the DNA and what we're hearing about what's coming out of his house. Now, for the other victims that have been found out on the beach, we're going to have to wait and see. I'm telling people to just kind of temper down and let law enforcement do what they need to do. I know I'm hearing that they're like checking Atlantic City. There's 4 that were buried or left out in the open there in a similar fashion. So I know that they're checking Atlantic City. Now they're looking at South Carolina, possibly Vegas. I mean,
again, this guy here looks just so typical New Yorker business guy, wears a suit, goes to work every day, has a pretty successful business, I guess, owns properties all over the country. I mean, who the fuck would suspect this guy? Honestly, many people will say now, yeah, oh yeah, he looks evil. Oh yeah. But, in reality, he wasn't. On the outside, he just looked like everybody else, normal person. Same with BTK. And to some extent, same as Ted Bundy.
Just, I think, really at the beginning on this investigation. And so we just need to be patient because, I mean, we're even here.
I mean, look at all these girls, right? Like, who cares if they're sex workers? I don't. I mean, their lives matter too. It's just awful, terrible.
Things coming out of this house just tonight. And so I really expect this, we're all going to be in this for the long haul.
And can you expound a little bit more on some of the similarities that you have observed between this accused killer and your father, and the lives that they're living, and what we know about this accused killer?
As soon as I saw the charging papers on Friday, I actually was cussing on Twitter because it was so similar. Rex is so similar to my father. They're both sexual sadistic psychopaths. I mean, that's where I'm at with Rex. We're gonna have to wait and see. They're both. He sounds like a narcissist, like my father.
I think they should do a brain scan on this guy too, to preserve that for science.
He sounds very like controlling, anger management issues, driven by like sexual fetishes, collecting, like we see Rex's searches on the internet, like looking for like death porn and just really graphic, awful things. I mean, it's very similar to what
I mean, at this point in my life, my sexual fetish right now is to go to sleep. It's, just to enjoy a really good day of sleep. It's do my job, come home, go to bed. That's it. That's what I do. That's my life.
Father was pursuing in between murdering. So they're very similar as both being family men and appearing outside one way and then hiding these horrible things inside and not being caught for decades. Knowing how bad my father is, I hope that they're going to be looking at Rex for probably close to 4 decades, and I know that they will. They're just quite similar, and we're just going to have to see what comes out. There's just so much we don't know right now.
Do you think he wanted to get caught, and do you think he's enjoying this notoriety now?
No, I don't think these guys want to get caught. I just don't. I think some of them enjoy the notoriety, like BTK did for sure. This guy probably will. The jury's out on that. Brian Kohlberger over there in Idaho is definitely one of those. He's in it for the attention. But a lot of these guys, it's all about them. This is the highlight of their life right now.
I don't think he wanted to get caught any more than my dad did. My dad was playing stupid games and he got caught. If my dad had not been playing those games, I don't think they would have caught him that early. They would have caught up with him finally with familiar DNA, definitely by now. With Rex, definitely, I don't think he wanted to get.
I mean, it's really difficult nowadays to go to a crime scene and commit these types of crimes and not leave something. I mean, like my buddy Steve from True Crime Web says, there's DNA there. You know, you just got to find it. That's all. But the way the forensics and all of this mitochondrial DNA and all of these different ways they have of nabbing these guys are, I think that's probably one of the reasons why. I mean, I don't think you're going to see, multiple serial killers anymore because it's just, that's my opinion. It's tough to cover these crimes up.
Get caught. I mean, I don't even think he had any idea there was an investigation going on for over a year. I mean, you see him walking out of his office and he's just strolling along to get on the train. Like, that man is not expecting the men in black to come pick him up, right? And as far as we know, he was still doing things with burner phones, still doing Google searches, searching for information on his investigation. My father was doing the same back in 2005. He was cutting.
And whatever you do, don't get in anybody's car, ever. If somebody wants you to go in their car and you don't know that person, do not go in their car or house, period. You become very defensive at that point. Your offense is over. Once you're inside somebody's vehicle, you don't know what they're capable of.
Taking out news articles, he was collecting them, he was sending things into the police. I would say if my father was still out in the public and hadn't been arrested, I would assume he would be heavily on the internet like Rex was, using phones, all of that sort of stuff. Nowadays, it would be a very scary reality if you would think about my dad catching up with technology.
I mean that's the other thing too. The cell phone advancements are making major headways into these things too. Every time you touch your phone, pick your phone up, do whatever you do with your phone, they log that stuff. These companies log that stuff because it's the business thing. They want to know what you're doing with your phone all the time so they can bill you for this shit. So that gets stored somewhere. And even with burner phones, the forensic capabilities, that's a good thing. It's all good stuff. I mean, it's definitely not bad. So I hope this isn't the beginning, just the end of this shit, that they get some of these other guys that have been walking around freedom for decades. I love it when they catch these guys. I just do.
Gary, really eye-opening stuff tonight. I feel so bad for what you have been through and what your family has been through, but we.
All right, so that's the end of that. I do want to go here. To this one here. Did I want to do that? Yeah, okay. All right, so let's watch this one here, and then we'll go to the Tropics, and we'll see what happens. It's early for me. It's only 1 o'clock. So this is what's his face on Banfield News Nation, and I like this guy. He's pretty cool. So this is an interview with this guy, BTK Killer, saying he's this guy here is a clone. So let's listen to that.
Serial killer Dennis Rader is speaking out from prison now, calling Rex Heuermann, quote, a clone of me. In a letter to Fox News, Rader writes, I was arrested at age 59, married, 2 kids, husband, dad, longtime serial killer, stalker, used electronic devices, lives in a neighborhood undetected. Heuermann was taken down by DNA and electronics, his downfall, much like me. That's what BTK said. Yeah, he goes on to say he predicted many years ago that the Gilgo Beach murderer was someone just like him, and Rader is currently serving a life sentence for ruthlessly killing 10 people in Wichita, Kansas over the course of 17 years. My next guest knows Dennis Rader and the minds of serial killers really like no one else. Dr. Catherine Ramsland is a professor of forensic psychology and author of many books, including How to Catch a Killer, and she joins me now. Dr. Ramsland, it's always nice to see you. Thank you for coming on again tonight, especially with this new development that
I'll be right back. I'm gonna let this play. I'll be right back.
That BTK has written this letter calling the Long Island serial killer a clone of him. I mean, you know BTK really unlike anyone else with all, you've dealt with him face to face through your studies. I mean, what do you make of this new letter?
Doesn't surprise me. First, Rader used role models himself. He was influenced by Harvey Glattman and H.H. Holmes, to name a few, but he also wants to have some spotlight in this. He wants people to know that he made the right prediction, and he wants people to know how similar Heuermann is to him. I think he really just likes to have the attention back on him. What he did do, though, is he lays out all these parallels, and what surprised me is he forgot one, and that is that when he was talking to the police right before he was caught, he had sent them a note telling them to address him as Rex. And by that, he meant they were to talk to his private parts. So Rex also is a parallel in this case, a very odd little fact.
So Rex is, if I'm following you correctly, and I don't want to say anything out of turn, but Rex is the name that he had for his penis, BTK.
Yes, that's right.
So interesting. I mean, I guess just a coincidence that this other guy is now named Rex, but it is interesting that BTK left that out in this letter talking about their similarities.
Yeah, it kind of surprises me because I think he would, he told it to me, it's in the book. I'm surprised that he forgot about that.
Yeah, very, very strange. I want to ask you, it's interesting, both with BTK and with the Long Island serial killer, they both seem to sort of taunt the victims from what we know, and even taunt the media to an extent. What do you make of that? What do you make of that similarity between the two?
Well, there actually are some differences, some pretty significant differences. Rader entered homes of ordinary people to murder them. He wasn't looking for sex workers, which is what Heuermann was doing. He didn't really show disdain for his victims the way Heuermann is doing. So there are some differences. Plus, Rader handed the police the computer disk that got him caught. That's very different from what happened with Heuermann. So to kind of put these similarities out there is a bit disingenuous. He really tripped himself up in a way that was not the case with this Long Island case.
Yeah, and you made a good point about BTK wanting attention. I remember with other cases too, he's written letters, and it seems like he tries to find these similarities and sort of remain relevant to a certain extent. Is there any chance that that the Long Island serial killer and BTK?
I don't trust anything this guy says at all. Anything Radar says, I don't trust whatsoever.
Could have corresponded.
I also think this guy's here. I think he's probably responsible for more unalivings than people know.
Or that that he could have been inspired by BTK in some way, do you think?
I don't see it. I certainly hadn't heard of any correspondence between them. I think, and Rader would have told me if he had letters from someone like this. I think Rader would like to believe that somebody would copy him, but Heuermann was so different in the kinds of victims he was going after.
These guys are so about themselves. I don't think they care about anybody else. So why would they care if somebody is copying them or not? Maybe for their own egos, maybe, I don't know.
After and what he was doing, I don't really see him looking to Rader as his role model. I don't know that he looked to anyone, but we don't even know if he was motivated in the same way. For all we know, he was motivated by anger or a mission to punish sex workers. We don't know what his motivation was, so he might not be like as much like Rader as Rader thinks.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider.
These people are, in a sense, just like you and me. They have these normal lives, but then there's another side to them. They grow up a little different than everybody else because they notice that they're just not. And this is just a personal opinion. They're just not like everybody else. They have, no caring whatsoever. If somebody dies in the family or a tragedy happens in the family, and you have all these people feeling bad, they just don't feel that. They just don't. So they go through life, early life, probably like, oh well, I'll change over time, and it doesn't change. And then they get these crutches that they lean on. These fetishes and fantasies, and it grows and grows and grows until they can't stand it anymore, and then they finally lash out and do something like this, and it becomes their passion now. They just don't have any remorse. These victims, these sex workers, they were nothing to them. They don't have any respect for anything. Nothing. Life is just, it served its purpose, and now they're on to something else. The next time they want to change it up a little bit, and maybe do different things to satisfy their pathetic egos. It's just awful. People are just. But I definitely think they should do brain scans of these people so they can research some of these people. All right, so that's the end of that. All right, let's go here. I want to do this because this was pretty good. I saw this. This was done. When was this done? This was done 2 days ago, and this happened in the San Fernando Valley, California, right? And we'll watch this because I don't know what's going on with my computer right now. All right, so this guy here, this is kind of the end to it, so we'll watch it. And then I'll check on the Tropics, and then I'll get out of here for a little while. So this is a police chase in San Fernando Valley. Like I said, this is kind of the end. Look at this guy. He just... It's so funny. These police chases, and oh my God, some of these guys are so funny. I watched one the other day. It was a woman in a Winnebago, and you didn't know it was a woman until the end, but she was driving a Winnebago pretty good. A Winnebago.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to get.
I mean, just my opinion. When they do these car chases and all of this stuff, at the end of it, they should just get out and pummel these freaking people. Just
really tough to pull this thing along. And as I mentioned, it's the acceleration that is nearly impossible, right? I mean, once it gets up to 20 or 30 miles an hour, I think it could sustain that speed. But once
this guy has no rims, I mean, no tires, just rims. It's so funny. Look at this guy driving down the street. Like nobody's gonna see this.
the vehicle stops and then starts to get going, it's really tough to accelerate.
There's no tire. It's classic.
And look at the rear. You can see how it's getting, the rim is getting just smaller
I really think some of these guys, it's their 5 minutes to fame, and they, as long as they cover these things, these people will keep doing this. They get themselves on the news. Even if this guy gets arrested, he's probably going to be without. It's a stolen work truck. This thing's probably going to try to pawn this.
And smaller the diameter. And once that breaks, or the right front breaks, the right front is more of a hub. I think that'll last a little bit longer. You can see the construction on the right front tire, or where that tire was on that rim. It's much more sturdy. But the one in the back, I think that's going to collapse here at some point. And, they just don't know what they're dealing with, Philip. The suspect has been very erratic, engaging people on the street, could be armed. You just never know. Stolen vehicle, we believe. We believe that is the case. Initially, we weren't certain if this vehicle was stolen, or it could have been an employee that was actually driving the truck from the Atomic Concrete Pumping Company. But it appears it's someone who stole the vehicle. See his arm moving around there. We've seen him throw a few things out. When he sees people on the street, he tries to engage them and talk with them. It's very animated. They say DUI.
He just rolled up the window. What is that going to do? The glass.
By here, so driving under the influence of something. That certainly appears to be the case. And open up a little bit, Marcel. We'll see what the.
No, don't blame drugs on this. This guy is just obviously an attention getter.
Patrol cars have done. So they're behind their vehicle. They're trying to talk them out. Best case scenario, the suspect just gives himself up. It's going to be real difficult for him to keep going, though. And as you mentioned, it looks like the tire's going to go flat on that trailer as well.
Whatever happened to cop cars? Right. Every time you see these, everybody's got these SUVs now. It's so weird.
No, it's
pretty hard to believe these guys have interceptors in here, but I guess I guess so.
Several times he's actually pulled to the shoulder, stopped. We've seen him stop in the middle of the street on 2 other occasions and open the door, threatened to get out. So we've seen that in several different instances during this pursuit. Now we're on Canoga here, and one good thing about Canoga, open up out of this shot. Now they're trying to stop all southbound traffic. On the right side of your screen, you see the traffic coming south, the suspects coming north. They're trying to stop that. And then you have that big center median, and that's good. You go back to the pursuit there, Marcel, or to the vehicle. And you have that big center median where the walkway is, and that's good because you don't have any oncoming traffic coming into this guy. They're stopping it as much as they can. And this really gives them a situation where they might be able to get around him a little bit better. They may be able to stop this. And then if we have this, it could be a standoff, and that's when I think they're going to use the SWAT. They'll move SWAT in here, maybe even get a vehicle in front of them and then back out of that vehicle because that's a heavy truck. But once they have this stopped, they have the area contained, then they really can try and come up with a strategy to get this guy out of the vehicle. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, let's go to this one here because this is one of the ones I was watching the other day. Nobody's even on here, so I don't know who I'm talking to, but who cares? This is a good one here.
Was a GTA Grand Theft Auto of a stolen Jaguar, still doing about $120 westbound on the 10 freeway. Coming up on.
I think this guy got away. Not sure, but that's a Jaguar. It's 114 miles an hour.
The East LA interchange any minute here. Still going over 110 miles per hour. Is he in the interchange? I can't make out. It looks like he is in the LA interchange, transitioning possibly onto the 101 freeway, northbound 101.
I mean, this is a badass car right here. If I'm the owner of this car, I'm saying, please don't crash this car.
Northbound 101. Heading straight for downtown, over the LA River now. All over the road, all over the freeway, encountering a little bit of traffic now, slowing down for the first time as traffic is slowing down in front of him. And he is did he just get off there? No, that's him. Yeah, he got off the freeway, off the 101 in Chinatown, coming up on Spring Street. A right turn southbound on Spring, coming up on downtown LA. Light traffic as he goes south of the 101 freeway. That is City Hall, coming up on City Hall. Didn't see him come out the other side of that building. Did he turn? You saw him? There he is. There he is, westbound Temple. Westbound Temple from City Hall. He was at Spring Street there, turned off, and now he's at a red light over the double yellow lines, and now he comes up on some cross traffic through the red light, downtown LA, a high-speed pursuit of a stolen
I mean, I laugh about this shit, but this is, obviously dangerous.
Jaguar, continuing now westbound Temple, and he is heading straight for the 110 freeway, going through every red light. A left turn, southbound Fig. This is going to put him onto the freeway, I think. Southbound Fig through downtown LA, and now it sounds like the CHP may be pulling off here. That's southbound Figueroa, yep. Southbound Fig, nobody behind him. A right turn, westbound 3rd. Getting onto the freeway, getting onto the 110. This is going to put him on the southbound side of the 110. Southbound 110 freeway in the heart of downtown LA, continuing now onto that entrance ramp. Southbound 110 freeway, CHP trying to figure out where they lost him here. They pulled back momentarily. We're going to stick with it, continuing southbound 110 freeway through downtown LA. Next interchange is going to be the 10 freeway, doing about 90 miles per hour. Flying. This guy is flying past everybody. Now upwards of 100, pushing 100 miles per hour. Southbound 110 freeway, coming up on the 10.
This guy's fucking moving. I mean, he's just flying.
On the 10 in just about 10 seconds. .90 here we go.
I don't think they're going to be doing a pit maneuver on this guy. Just don't. This was 4 weeks ago, so this is pretty recent.
Which agency? which agency, which air unit? Christina, you copy? Do you know which agency? You said Riverside Sheriff? Thank you. Mark and Giovanna, here we go. You said Riverside Sheriff? See a driver in there,
I
but
just fast
unclear
forward.
whether there's anybody else in there with him at this point. But the driving has been not only very, very fast, but it's been extremely erratic, really weaving across lanes, going through red lights when he was on surface streets, and now showing signs of maybe getting off the freeway again here, using that shoulder to get around anybody in his way. A telltale sign if they're looking to dump the vehicle. Sometimes they will stop under the freeway. He's out of the vehicle. The vehicle's rolling. The vehicle is rolling into the intersection. He is on foot under that freeway. He is under the overpass, and there is nobody behind him. He may very well walk away from this crime. Now look at this. That Jaguar is moving on its own, bumping into that van. This is incredible.
This is the classic part of this chase. This car just keeps moving.
That driver's seat, by my observation, is empty, and now that Jaguar is coming to a stop there in the middle of the intersection at Manchester Boulevard at either Broadway or Main. They're just one block past the freeway there. And as for that driver, he may very well be long gone, guys. It's always difficult when this happens under a freeway overpass. There's no sign.
See, the car is still moving.
Of it. Meanwhile, this car is still rolling along here in idle.
You don't see this shit every day. The car is still moving. Nobody's in it.
Now, on several occasions, we did see debris fly out of the vehicle. Unclear what it was, if it was anything of importance, if it was evidence of some sort, if it was drugs, if it was a weapon. We have no idea. But he was certainly pushing his luck here and also stepping on that gas pedal at very high speeds as he made his way through Riverside and LA County, looking for that perfect hiding spot or a perfect place to dump the vehicle. And this is a new one on me. Literally just left the vehicle rolling without anybody behind him. There was no law enforcement on scene out here to even take custody of the stolen Jaguar. So somebody's stolen Jag is now rolling through South LA with nobody in it. I can't say I've seen this before. Meanwhile, that driver is long gone, guys. Nobody hurt.
The car is still moving.
Here comes California Highway Patrol. Look at this. The car is rolling right into traffic. The car appears to be in idle, just rolling through the intersection. Here comes CHP. What are we going to see here? A pit? I mean, God only knows. This is a new one on me, guys.
It's heading right for that light pole.
Try and open it up. Try and open it up. Is it okay? It's open, and here it comes to an end. Into a pole. Ah, shucks, he says.
That was a classic. I saw that just the other day, and it's like, can't make this shit up. All right, so what I'm gonna do now is get out of here and head to the Tropics. And then I'll get out of here. So. So just to stop here in the continental United States here, we got what's going on down here. Heat advisories for the deep south. That's where all the heat is. We need the heat here. It's going to heat here too. Excessive heat. Normal hot places, Nevada, California, Arizona. Yeah, let's go. Other than that, it's pretty quiet right now, which is good. But the tropics may be acting up a little bit here. So we got, where are we here? We got, this is, okay, so this is the Atlantic Ocean, continental United States here, the East Coast. This is Africa, South America here, the islands. So we have Dawn, who's just sitting up here spinning for no apparent reason. It's not going to be anything for anybody. If it moves a little bit more north here, it's going to become extra tropical again. So this is just going to kind of fall by the wayside here and just become a shipping threat at this point here. So it's going to go up, curve up, become a depression, and probably just fall apart here. These waters here are just, although ocean temperatures right now are really, really above average here on the East Coast, South, Gulf of Mexico. But this guy here, this came off the coast a couple of days ago, and they had it as a tropical wave here. It still is, but it's tiny, but it's looking a little bit more impressive today. So you have, I'm watching this area here too, but let's put this shit into motion here. See if we can do the loop. It'll be getting dark over there now, so my mouse go. Okay, so yeah, that'll do it. Okay, so here's Dawn up here. This is, like I said, just a shipping threat right now. But here's this other wave here. And I'll focus in on this. Actually, let me go to so I just added the longitude and latitude lines here. So you can track its movement a little bit better. So if there's any circulation, it's down here, and the higher clouds are way to the north of it. But you can see here, all this stuff that's coming off the coast is kind of curling around here and heading south. So that's telling me that there's a ridge here forming. So that can't be penetrated here by any of these storms. So these normally move west to east. And over the last few weeks or so, month or so, the westerlies here have been pretty persistent, but that seems to be coming to an end here. So that's probably why they're saying in the next 7 days or so, it has a better chance of getting its act together. But let's go here to the mid-level. Oops. I literally hate my computer. This is the water vapor from the mid-level. So you see all this dry air in here. This is not conducive for development, so it's kind of prohibiting this from moving very much here. It's another wave coming off here too. But if you can see this ridge here, there's low pressure there, low pressure there. There's dawn. No, that's not dawn. But you see these westerlies starting to get less persistent here. So once this moves, this might take a westerly track here. And once it gets into the open waters and more favorable condition here, there's dawn right there. This might have a chance of getting better. Oh, I can do that. Yeah, see, the center of circulation is down in here if there's anything. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised in the next couple of days if this becomes TD5, I think. Because this dry air here won't last long. But this is another area here that I've been watching, but it seems like it's this is the Yucatan Peninsula here. Other than that, everything looks pretty quiet in the United States here right now. You get some storms popping up here in Georgia and Mississippi. But what I want to do now is go here. Nope, I don't want to go there. Let's get out of there. Okay, so these are the sea surface temperatures here. This is the Atlantic, whole Atlantic. There's Africa there. There's Florida. This is the coastline of the United States. And these are the sea surface temperatures here. So, obviously very warm here. This is where our little system is kind of in here. Like a 28 here. And this is the bar here. So this is really cold and this is really warm. But if you look at the coast of New England here, these are actually fairly warm for this time of the year up here. This is an anomaly for the year here. So this has plenty of warm water to go through right now. And what I want to do is go back to the anomaly loop. So this loop here is the anomaly, meaning 1 over, 2 over, where it normally is 3 over, 5 over. So these areas here, 0, these numbers are over where they normally are for this time of the year. So again, up here in New England, it's pretty warm. It's get 4s, 2s, 3s. It's not like that up here. I mean, it's still cold, but not as cold as it normally would be. So It's fairly mild in here. You know, like this region here, it's normal. But that could change here soon. So I'll keep an eye on this. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised in the next couple of days if it becomes, I think it's TD5. And I just want to go to one more thing here. Yeah, see, I was watching this today, but it seems to have dissipated. I'll keep an eye on this too. This is a hotbed for this time of the year for storms, is in here. Yeah, there's no center here, nothing going on. I'll definitely keep an eye on it though. All right. So that's it. Out of here. Play my outro and I'll get out of here. Everybody have a good night.